If people think that they have a chance, they'll go along. If they don't think they have a chance to change the system, then they're going to do what they have to do. I have a couple of questions here today.
Now I know it's all over. The Mormon Church endorses gay rights.
Well, I see that Butch Barr has something on his program that says that Ron Paul said that he doesn't have a problem with homosexuals. And now they think he's a terrible person. I mean, you know, they're within our existence. And, you know, to try to avoid that is ridiculous. And I don't, even if he did say it, what difference does it make? I mean, who else do we have?
You know, Bob, that's the hard part. Everybody looks for someone who was 100%, and you know what? There isn't anybody that perfect. I mean, and we have people have a right to their views and their comments. But, you know, overall, who else is there? You're absolutely correct.
Well, you hate to have to look at it that way, but that is the position that we're in.
Yeah.
And there's very little we can do about it. You know, the old warlords used to say, your enemy's enemy is your friend.
Yeah. Well, just like abortion rights. I don't go along with the program. But you know what? I heard so many pastors that know what's going on, that's fighting for this. During the elections, they were going after the people who were only focused on pro-life. They didn't look at anything else other than that. And pro-life, even though I'm a pro-life, means not going to help this country.
There are much bigger issues.
And maybe those issues should all fall under the whole sample, but anyway, we got questions.
Yeah. I have from Michael. Number one, all the deflationists argue the money is contracting. Are not all the extension of unemployment benefits directly inflationary? Are not the extension of home buyers with credit extended, is that not inflationary? Plus a myriad of other spending measures. Not to mention the illegal things the Fed does to purchase treasuries, intervene in all markets, etc. The only deflationary thing I see is a mandate to deposit the funds into the Fed and hold them there. He's right. He should be right. He's an attorney. But anyway, deflation is there. It's an undertow. Being overwhelmed by the extension of money and credit and deficit spending from a fiscal viewpoint. So, that's the way it is. And we're offsetting that by owning gold and silver related assets that are going up in value. And that's okay. And here's one here from Patrick. And he's in the Republic of Ireland. And he said he enjoys Mint State Melodies programs every week from inside the cab of my excavator. As the national radio lies are very transparent now and they turn my stomach. That means the BBC, etc. I can only watch helpless as others around me, starting tomorrow, go to line up for the vaccinations. And I don't want to know anything about what's really being done to us, the huge fraud, and where we're headed. Thank you both for your time and effort. I try to do what I can, too. The questions. number one. Taking that the government are embroiled in all markets up to 70%. What might happen to the mining share price and volume if they pulled out and stopped meddling? Well, of course, they'd go considerably higher, and that will happen. That will happen. The market will overcome this naked shorting by the federal government. And the same thing is true in bullion. And you're seeing in spades, I said over and over again, for a long time, sooner or later, they're going to run out of physical, and they're not going to be able to lease anymore. They're not going to be able to sell anymore, and the whole thing will come unglued. And it is. When gold passed 1,030 this time, it was a second breakout. It was a seminal event. It meant that our government has lost control of the suppression of the market. And they have. And they will in the shares as well. And that's just the way it is. Second question. If and when the piggy swine flu, well, that's what they call it over there, probably in Dublin. If and when the piggy swine flu really takes off and starts affecting trade, business and industry, including mining productions in some countries, again, what do you think will happen to individual stocks? Well, usually the swine flu only affects a limited amount of people, and only a handful die worldwide. So it's not going to affect anything. Government would like to make you think it would, but it isn't. Now, whatever they've got over in the Ukraine is a different story. Hundreds of people are dying, which is not the case with swine flu. That 1,000 have died in America. That's crap. It's just a lie to get the people stoked. But in Ukraine, they've got a serious problem. And, you know, H1N1 is a virus. The pneumonic plague is bacteria. You can't be both. And the U.S. is trying to paint it as an H1N1 problem, and it's not. Pneumonic plague comes from bubonic plague, if my history serves me correctly. And that's caused from rats who carry the disease. And so obviously, either one of two things happened in the Ukraine. Either they got lots of rats with bubonic plague that spread plague, which I don't think that they did, because you would have had bubonic plague first and then pneumonic plague. So the only way they could have got the plague over there is our dear friends at the World Health Organization probably planted it there. And that's why they have a plague. And besides, I don't think they wanted the government to change, because the lady who's running against Yushchenko, who is the president there, is very, very good. And she's going to win the election. And they don't want to have an election. And that's why they got martial law. So, anyway, that is my questions for the day that I have.
All righty, I got some here for you.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And also, when you were talking about, you know, the gold and the shorts and everything, someone called me today and they said on Bloomberg across the bottom of the screen, Donald called and he said there was a statement on there saying that London was unable to fill 40% of its contracts, gold contracts, and that was floating across their little...
Do you know how much that is? It's 50,000 tons and 40%. They couldn't fill 20,000 tons of gold. Now, they failed to deliver last month, and the Bank of England delivered gold so that they could meet their contracts. And the gold, if you remember us talking about it, was not good delivery.
Yeah.
It was melt, and there's only one place that has melt, and that's the U.S. Treasury. So they are in deep doo-doo. Listen, this thing could be $12.50 in the next 3 days. Thursday, Friday, and Monday. I'm telling you, this thing is ready to explode.
Yep.
And all of you people who will think you're going to outthink the market, forget it. I was a professional for 28 years.